If you're thinking about moving to Lubbock, Texas, one of the main reasons that you might be considering moving here is because you want to be on the outskirts of a bigger city. You want to have a country lifestyle or country living and have maybe some space or not be so close to your neighbors, or just be in a smaller neighborhood to where you just don't feel like you are being fishbowled all the time. Well, in today's video, what I wanted to do is take you around to the different suburbs around Lubbock. That way you can kind of see what you can get for your money here. Now, I'm going to show you some of my favorite sold listings from around the different suburbs here in Lubbock, and some of them are going to be on some acreage with some space. Some of them are just going to be out of the city limits, because maybe you're looking for out of the city limits because you don't want high taxes, but you also want to be close to Lubbock. So I wanted to kind of give a range of what you can expect depending on what your budget is, and also too depending on what type of home you're looking for here on the outskirts of Lubbock. And be sure to stick around because you might want to see just what this inside of some of these homes look like, because like I said, we're going to be ranging on the budget depending on $400 to $1 million. I mean, really just honing in on what the outskirts of Lubbock has to offer. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Lubbock, Texas, well then be sure to tap that bell and hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about all things living in Lubbock, Texas. I get calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to Lubbock, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, schedule a Zoom call, or send me a DM. Whatever is easiest for you and your family, and I'd love to meet you and help you make a smooth transition into the Lubbock, Texas area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dive into my computer here in a second, show you a map view of the different surrounding suburbs here in the Lubbock area. We get calls and texts about people just wanting to move from wherever they are in the country to Lubbock, but also be on the outskirts of the town because they don't necessarily want to pay for the Lubbock Cooper taxes or the Lubbock Frenship taxes. And I don't blame you. I get it. They're a little bit steep from probably where you're coming from, but remember, we don't have state income tax, but we do have a little bit of higher taxes. So if you are in the suburbs around Lubbock, your taxes are going to be lower, but also too, you are very close to the city of Lubbock within 15 to 25 minutes, really depending on how far out you want to go. Now today in the suburbs that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to be going out an hour. I'm going to be max going out about no more than 20, maybe 25 minutes. And so that way you can kind of see if we're not going to go out to some of the northern or most southern, eastern, western suburbs, because ideally if you want to go in those suburbs, then that's going to be a completely different video. This is going to be really something that if you just want to be a little bit outside of the city limits, but also really close to the city limits. So let's jump into my computer and take a look at some of these sold listings. Okay, so like I mentioned, let's get into my computer and I will show you just some of the suburbs around Lubbock, some of the options that they have to, or some of the houses that they have to offer that have been sold in the last 6 months. So I am now in my computer, and you can kind of see here, we are going to go around to New Home area. We're going to go to Ropesville area. We're going to kind of hit the Shallowater, and then we're going to go up to Idalou. So we're just kind of going to make a semicircle. Now, of course, there are some homes that sell in the Slayton area and Ransom Canyon area. However, majority of the time, people like these 4 suburbs. And this is kind of the heavily populated area. They're heavily populated suburbs that people like to go and look at. Now, going into New Home. So if you have not watched the video on New Home explaining all about New Home, well then be sure to check that video out. But I wanted to show you just some of the neighborhoods that I have mentioned before in the New Home area. So I selected 3 homes out of New Home for us to take a look at. Now, majority of the homes in New Home are going to be on acreage. Kind of everything that I show you today is going to be a little bit on acreage. There are going to be some homes that are not going to be, but for the most part, the reason why people like the suburbs is because the homes are on acreage. But sometimes the new homes are only on acreage. So, and I get that you don't want a new home. Some people don't love new homes, they want an existing home. So I tried showing you a little bit of both, because there are options for both. It's just the new growth in some of these suburbs are insane. So that's why we're seeing a lot of the newer growth. But our first home we are going to go to was actually, it sold for $355,000. I just wanted to show you some pictures. It wasn't on the market long, and it was on, if we go back right here, it was on just 10 acres. So $355,000 for 10 acres, depending on what your style is. If you think 10 acres is a little bit much, I just wanted to show you some of the features that this house has to offer. Not only was it had the house, but it also had the shop. So this is not going to be a newer home. This home was not built yesterday. So you are going to have some of the features of an older home. You're going to have the mature trees that are surrounding the property. But this is just the shop in the backyard area. And you can see it's going to have a lot of those brown tones, those neutral tones, but also some of those beams incorporated as well. And then I wanted to jump into the kitchen. The kitchen hasn't been completely updated, but you can come in here. This is kind of a blank slate if you are wanting to update yourself, but you like the price point and you like that it is on acreage. Then this home would be ideal for you. But it's still semi-updated. It's not a total gutter, which I think is the reason why it sold so quickly. But go through the pictures really quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on the pictures, but just to kind of give you an idea of what some of these homes look like. And then I just love the shop too, with the overhang for your RV. And come in, they framed out the shop already, as you can see in this picture, with a bedroom. So, they did it right. It's not just a blank shell with the shop, which is what we see a lot of the times on shops. But yeah, so this home sold for $355,000 in new home. And this is one of the homes in new home that is not a new home. So let's go back over here. So let's go back to another house in new home that I have pinned. So this one's going to be right off of the main road in new home. So this is going to be a semi-newer home. It sold for $422,000. It was built in 2020. So it's not brand new, but wanted to show you another home. This is just over an acre with a 30 by 40 shop as well. So we can just take a look at it. This one is going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit newer. The grass, bear with me. We know that there's no grass here. A lot of the homes in new home and what I'm going to be showing you today, they're not going to have a ton of grass. So that's something that you wanted to add. Just be mindful that you will have to add grass sometimes. But a lot of the newer construction homes don't. But you can kind of see it's just a very basic. It's been updated. It's a new home. It has the open concept floor plan. You don't really have to do much when you move into this home. It has the vinyl plank flooring. It has the granite countertops. It has the recessed lighting. So really everything. It has the chef's fridge, which I personally love the chef's fridge. They're really hard to find right now. But just going through really quickly, it's going to have your modern farmhouse. A lot of the builders right now are building your modern farmhouse style homes, but you're going to have some architecture in the master. You're going to have your separate tub and shower combo, his and her sink. So majority is just going to be your basic 3-4 bedroom home, but you are going to be on some space. And I like that you can see the backyard. There's plenty of room to add a pool. There's not a pool in this one, but there is a shop, which I think a lot of people love having the shop as well. Especially because you're going to have to mow your yard with probably a riding lawnmower. If you mow it by hand, more power to you. But majority of the time, you're going to have some toys. So the shop comes in handy. Then I wanted to show you one last home, a new home. So this house was listed at $607,000 as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2,900 square feet, and it sold for $607,000. And this house was actually built in 2017. So I tried not to put any new construction homes for those of you that are not looking for new construction. So this house again is also on a little bit over an acre, I believe. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so it's on an acre. But you're going to have more of a rustic feel. It's still going to kind of be your modern farmhouse feel, but it's going to be a lot larger. It's going to be a more custom build, more so than just a home that was built really quickly. You're going to have a little bit more of a designer feel. You're going to have a little bit more of those designer features as well too. I love the stone fireplace and the accents that they did here. But again, this house is going to be your move-in ready home for $607,000 that this home sold for. I love the bathroom. I love that they did, the designer feel for the bathtub and the ceiling and the walk-through shower, which I think is really cool. Which I love the laundry room, by the way. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, we'll just go through the pictures really quickly. Just kind of wanted to show you the backyard because this house also does have a shop with an overhang. And I think, again, going back to people are looking for shops, this one isn't necessarily framed out for a bedroom, but you could frame it out if you wanted to, if you do find a home with a shop. So those are going to be the homes, a new home. They're going to range, depending on what you're wanting. But again, there are tons of new construction homes in this area, but I try not to show you new construction just because I know I've been talking a lot about new construction in the new home area. So I wanted to show you that there are existing homes that are still beautiful, that are still newer homes that are move-in ready. So now we're going to make our way over to Ropesville. So Ropesville is not very far from Lubbock. You can see it's only about 10 minutes from Wolfworth. It's probably about 20 minutes from Lubbock. But ideally, Ropesville is just a smaller little town. It's not growing exponentially like New Home is, and it's not growing exponentially like Idalou. It's just kind of been sitting by itself for some time. But there you can find pretty inexpensive land. And so if you did want to build a home, you can totally build in Ropesville. I think that the school districts, the reason why people are flocking to New Home and Idalou is just based off of the school districts. Ropesville, not saying that they don't have a great school district, but it is going to be a little bit smaller compared to the New Home and your Idalou. There's just there's a lot of growth, but not as quick, not as fast growth here at Ropesville. But again, it's still going to be on the outskirts of town. So off of 62, this is going to be a newer build home. It was sold for $465,000, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square feet. And it sits on a little bit over an acre of lot. So kind of get a feel and kind of see where my drift, where a lot of people do like the acreage homes. So this house was built in 2022. So it's a newer home. But again, there's not going to be a lot of grass or anything. You can kind of see, it's going to have the farmhouse chic look. It's going to have your shiplap, your different colors. I know the blues were very in last year. The decorative tile, the gas range, which is really unique because we've noticed sometimes we don't always get the gas range in kitchens, which I know if you're coming from a different state, gas ranges might be very popular where you are at. They're slowly starting to be able to incorporate the gas lines into some of these suburbs. But you can kind of see just very basic, your 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, which I do like that they added the tile instead of a tub surround, which is why this house sold for $465,000. You're gonna have some of those updates and modern features as well. So going back to this, doesn't have a shop or anything. It's just gonna be on a 1-acre land. Since it was new when this was sold, then builders typically will not build a house with a shop, unless you ask them to, of course. Now we're going on the other side of the highway. So this one I wanted to also point out because this is a home that actually was built in 2005. It sold for $425,000 and it's on 5 acres, which I think if you're not wanting, again, going back to the new construction home, this house is still a beautiful home. Sold for $425,000. And if you're wanting some space, but you're not wanting the new construction feel, this home would be ideal for that. Also because it already has a livestock shop, you don't have to go in and add it or anything. So I think that is also a plus for some of these homes. So let's just take a look inside. Inside, architecturally speaking, yes, it's going to be a little bit dated. So you can come in, update it, do what you want with it. If you love the red carpet, maybe that's your vibe, awesome. If not, you might want to come in here and you could totally redo it if your budget's around that $600,000, but you want to build more of a custom home, but you don't want a brand new home. This could be a home where you come in and renovate, update. You're still going to have the kind of semi-open concept feel, which I think is nice, especially in the living room area. But you are going to have a fence in your backyard, which I think a lot of people do really like, that you do have your own private backyard, especially for dogs. And then you have the other 4 acres or so, give or take, for land. And then you have your livestock trailers and your livestock barn. So if you're wanting horses, sheep, pigs, goats, whatever, this house is awesome for that because it's already built in to the home. You don't have to come in there and do it. and for $425,000, can't really beat it. So let's go to the last house in Ropesville that I wanted to show y'all. So it's a little bit on the outskirts of Ropesville. This one is listed at, or was sold for $665,000. It was a 5-bedroom, six bath home at 4,000 square feet. So this is a pretty large home, and it was built in 2020. So let's take a look at it. And then also too, it does have a shop, and it sits on almost 4 acres. So again, going back to if you want an already existing shop, and this is unique because it is a 2-story home. I don't know if you've kind of noticed, but a lot of the homes that we see here in Lubbock are not going to be your 2-story homes. We are going to have a lot of ranch style homes. That's just how our builders build homes right now. But we are going to see this one is a 2-story home with a shop, which I think is awesome to have a little bit of a uniqueness. A little bit over 4 acres, or a little bit under 4 acres, like I said, but you're still going to have the shiplap, your modern farmhouse, very modern feel. And I'll just go through it. You've seen bedrooms before, but I did want to point out that this was a 2-story home. And then we'll go in the backyard just so you can kind of see it. It has an upstairs game room. Let's hop over to the backyard. The West Texas sunsets, y'all, are awesome. But you can kind of see they had chickens, so if you want chickens, you totally could do chickens. I wish there was pictures of the shop so you could see more of the inside of the shop, but there's not. Also, too, basements are very popular. People want basements. This house particularly did have a basement. We don't see basements too often, but this house did have one. I wanted to point that out. So that's what you can kind of expect in the Ropesville area. Ropesville is generally going to be a little bit less than, say, New Home or Idalou. It just really depends on what you're looking for. So I kind of have a few in Shallowater that I wanted to show y'all, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. Shallowater is growing very similar, not as quickly as New Home or Idalou. It's on the north side of Lubbock, as you can see. Shallowater is not very far from Lubbock. It's about 20 to 25 minute drive, really depending on where you're going in Shallowater. But Shallowater has been around for a long time. There's a ton of existing homes, especially in this area of Shallowater, which I will show you. But I also wanted to let you know, hey, there are tons of newer construction homes in Shallowater. And if you are wanting some space, like this particular home was a 2021 build with on 10 acres. So again, going back to, they're all going to be just very open concept, very modern farmhouse, kind of feel. And this one, I don't believe had a shop, but you could totally add a shop. That's going to be more so on the outskirts on the 10 acres. So getting a little bit more towards the city of Shallowater, this one sold for $645,000. This is on 1 acre. So if you're like 10 acres is just not your jam and you're just want to be on 1 acre of land, this house in Shallowater would be ideal for you if your budget's around $645,000. We have some grass in this house, and also too, it's going to be fenced in. It's going to be in a community. It's not going to be out by itself. So if you want a little bit of neighbor, you're not going to want to feel so isolated. Then they do have neighborhoods as well too on 1 acre plots. You can kind of see this one also does have a shop as well. I love the aerial view. You said that you can see, it is on a cul-de-sac, which is nice, but you can kind of see in the backyard is fenced in, what it looks like, the shop and everything. And we'll go through it. As you're kind of catching the vibe, we are seeing this one has a little bit more brown tones, but very similar style builds throughout majority of the homes that we're going to be looking at. I love that they did the separate tub and shower combo here in this bathroom. It's more of your rustic style. It's not your whites and your brights and your grays. I like the browns for a rustic, especially if you're going to be in the country. I think it's fun. But yeah, so you can kind of see the backyard. I love the pergola that they added in there. And then the shop that you can totally, if you wanted to fill out and if you wanted to add a bedroom, you could do that as well. So moving on into some of the other areas of Shallowater. Now this is going to be some of your existing homes in Shallowater. So this is going to be in Legacy Oaks, I believe, or Diamond Head Estates, excuse me. But this is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home, an oversized lot, but it's not on 1 acre. So this one sold for $510,000. So if you're still wanting that neighborhood feel, but you're wanting a little bit more of a country feel, but you're not wanting to be totally isolated, Shallowater does have great neighborhoods for that as well. It's just majority of the things that you're going to need are going to be in Lubbock. A lot of these suburbs are not going to have your really big restaurants, your really big shopping centers. They're not going to have strips where you can go in and shop all day. Like some of the suburbs around Austin or Dallas, these suburbs are true country suburbs. You're going to have to come into the Lubbock area to do all of your shopping. But Needless to say, again, I think this is still a beautiful home if you're not wanting something with tons of land or tons of upkeep as well. So yeah, let's see the backyard that we can kind of get an idea. And the backyard is still beautiful. I mean, it has all of the built-in grills and everything, pergolas. It's landscaped beautifully. And it does have a 4-car garage, which is pretty cool. So let's look at one more in Shallowater that I wanted to show y'all. I think it was, if you wanted to, again, on the lower end of the budget, if you're wanting to stay under the $400,000 price range, I did want to let you know that there are options for that as well too. And this home is beautiful. This home was actually built in 2019, move-in ready, sold for $340,000. So there are options for that. This house is just also gorgeous. It was sold for $760,000. You can kind of see, I mean, it was on the market for a little while, about 70 days, but that does include contract to close. About 5,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 4 bath, which is crazy. Dan Wilson built this home. He is a very reputable builder here in town, one of an amazing builders. His kind of style is the brown undertones and the more so just your rustic farmhouse, which I think you'll see here in a second. Very beautifully built homes. He built a lot in Lubbock as well. I've probably have showed you a Dan Wilson home once or twice before, but this home, again, if you wanted to come in, you could update it if you wanted to, but this also is beautiful as is. I love the wolf ranges. I mean, it just has a lot of great details that some of the other homes just maybe won't have. And we'll go through it really quickly. Again, it's not going to be your lights and your brights and your whites. When this one does have a basement, which is awesome. And I know I get a lot of questions about, hey, tornadoes or, do we get tornadoes a lot? And to be honest with you, we have not had a tornado in a really long time, but that does not to say that we haven't, that tornadoes are not something to be, that we don't have. We have had them. This last year, we had a really, really bad tornado that tore through a really small town on the outskirts of Lubbock. And that was pretty devastating. But as far as inside and around Lubbock within 30 minutes, 25 minutes, we have a lot of hailstorms. We have a lot of windstorms. But as far as tornadoes go, this town is just growing exponentially. We just haven't really seen that in the last few years. But I never want to say that we're never going to get a tornado again. So going into Idalou. So we're going to go east Lubbock. You can kind of see right here, 6282 runs to Idalou, and it also runs to Ropesville or Ropes, and 84 will run to Shallowater and to Slayton. But Idalou is also growing. It is booming. I've also done a video on Idalou, about the growth in Idalou, about all the new construction in Idalou that you can find, 1 to 10 acres. So I wanted to show you that there are homes. I wasn't lying, that there are homes for sale. This one in particular is new construction. So it sold for $305,000. This is on an acre of land. There's not going to be a lot of homes, or it's not going to be a ton, like a neighborhood as of right now. So you're going to be a little bit more secluded, but this is just going to be your very basic 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 300,000 square feet. But if you're wanting land, this is a really great option. It's not going to come with sod or anything. It's something that you could add if you wanted to. But then I wanted to show y'all this home that is not brand new. This one was built in 1998. It sold for $484,000, and it is on 5 acres of land. So a little bit under the $500,000 price point, but you can still see you're going to have your beautiful trees. You're going to have a lot more landscaping. You're going to have a lot more just greenery and everything. You're going to have this shop, but you're just not going to have your brand new white and bright construction, So it's still a beautiful home with the farmhouse feel, but it's just kind of depending on what your style is and what you're really looking for. If you wanted to come in here and redo it, you totally could do that as well. The wood paneling, I don't know if any of y'all like that, but I think the wood paneling just reminds me of a very cabin-y feel. And then I'm trying to show y'all, I don't know if they have any pictures of the shop or anything, but that's good. That's a good aerial view of the house. And if you wanted horses, totally could have horses out here as well. So our last home in Shallowater that I wanted to show y'all is going to be this home, $435,000. It is on 10 acres of land. So there was a time when there's a lot of homes that were built on 10 acres of land. This one sold in August of this past year. in 2023. And it was built in 2021. So it's not too new, but you're gonna have some of that. I mean, everything's gonna be just light and bright, airy, modern farmhouse feel. Vinyl plank flooring throughout with the backsplash, the stone fireplace. The backsplash is very unique and interesting, I think. It definitely makes a pop in a statement for sure. Electric range. You're not gonna have your gas. You've seen what bathrooms look like. You know, I won't bore you with going through all the bathrooms and all the bedrooms, but you can kind of at least get a feel for the 10 acres of land. This particular one will have, I think, about 2 acres fenced in, and the rest are not going to be fenced in. I think a lot of people do like that, like I mentioned, for dogs and pets, and then the rest of the acres you can have horses and really whatever else you wanted. Well, that wraps up our tour of the suburbs around Lubbock. Again, all these suburbs are going to be within 15 to 25 minutes, really depending on where you're at in the suburbs of Lubbock. Like I mentioned, these suburbs don't have town shopping strips or great eating restaurants or going out vibes, styles. You're gonna go into Lubbock for all of that. This is mainly for if you're one in Lower Texas, you're one in space, and you're wanting not to be elbow to elbow with your neighbor. Well, you do have the option. And if you want to be in a neighborhood, there's options there too. As you saw, there's still options, but you're not going to be so secluded, but you are going to feel a little bit more secluded than you would be if you were in the city. Also too, you're going to be able to get your money goes a little bit further on the outskirts of town as well, depending on if you want land, if you want existing homes with land, whatever your vibe and style is, I'm sure we can find it. Again, I also didn't mention, but you can also build homes, and we can always connect you with builders here in the local area, especially the ones that will be building your home in the outskirts of Lubbock, because we definitely don't want to pick a builder that does not have a very good reputation. So if you do want to build a house, we can always help you with that as well. But if you found this video helpful, be sure to like and comment so that we can be sure to get back to you. If you have any questions about any of the neighborhoods or suburbs that we talked about today, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you around.